Hello, hello. Welcome back to Mistress of the Damned, the channel where we believe freedom of speech and pursuit of knowledge are the most important things in life. If you believe that too, then you too are damned. Welcome to hell. I am your Mistress Katrina. I am currently working through my enormous library of books in pursuit of that knowledge, and then I give you a quick synopsis and review, let you know what I think about the book. So, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned on this channel before that whenever cancel culture tries to cancel someone, with the basic exception of, actual genuine Nazis, not just the people that they say are Nazis, but actual real life Nazis, I'm going to go out of my way to buy that person's book, t-shirt, paintings, whatever I can throw my support behind them at to let them know that cancel culture is filled with idiots. And that's how this week's book of the week hit my radar. It would be Manhood by Terry Crews. Now, you wouldn't think, Terry Crews is a major Hollywood player, right? He's a big star. You wouldn't think that he would necessarily fall under this umbrella of being canceled and potentially canceled by the idiots on the, extremes. But he did in June of 2020, when George Floyd outrage was at its absolute peak. Terry had the audacity to have a thought that did not jive with the BLM movement. And, of course, as a result of this, the cancelati came for him. And because he is a bold man and right with his God, he did not back down. Which I admire in anybody. Anybody who has the backbone to stand up to a screeching mob carrying metaphorical pitchforks and torches is somebody that I admire and want to support. And so, of course, I bought his book, and here we are. So, some very basic biographical information. Terry Crews was born on July 30th, 1968 in Flint, Michigan. Yes, that Flint, Michigan, with a catastrophic water problem. He grew up very poor. It was not the happiest of childhood homes. There was a lot of domestic violence, and this is in the book. A lot of domestic violence. Both his mom and his dad hit each other, and then mom hit Terry and his siblings. And he just kind of was not the happiest of home lives. Now, people react to domestic violence a multitude of ways. Terry reacted by wanting to get as far away from Flint as he could. But this desire to run away led to some not so healthy coping mechanisms. The first one, which he has been very upfront about, and he'll talk about it with anybody who asks, and he covers it in detail in his book, was his addiction to pornography. As young as 10 years old, Terry was escaping his environment by immersing himself in pornography. Because he was raised in church, he recognized that this was not in keeping with the moral principles of the church, and he recognized that, he felt extreme guilt over this, which made him an extreme people pleaser. So he had these kind of two dichotomies that balance each other out. That the guilt from his porn addiction was weighed out by his desire to please everybody around him, to kind of make up for it. He became the yes guy. Basically, anytime anybody needed a volunteer for anything, Terry stepped up. Now, this is not inherently a bad thing, okay? Saying yes can lead to massive opportunities, and it certainly did for Terry. But the problem arises when you give so much of yourself saying yes to others that you sacrifice connections for yourself. You sacrifice your own sense of self, your connections with your family, and you just kind of lose yourself to the yes. And Terry experienced quite a bit of that, and he goes through all of that in detail in his book. So these two extremes, the sink into pornography and then the swing into the ultimate yes man, kind of shaped and defined Terry. Seriously, you never read one story without the alter ego appearing shortly afterwards. And Terry is very candid relating these stories, and he leads us through his life. He walks us through really dark lows when he didn't think he was getting a scholarship that was going to get him out of Flint, to when he managed to get that last minute scholarship allowing him to play football. So it goes these extreme ups and downs, and his life's been a roller coaster. And he was so sure that he was going to be drafted to the NFL that he quit school 2 months before graduating. Yeah, right. The scholarship he fought so hard for to get into college, he just walked away from it because he was so sure he was going to get drafted, and then he almost didn't. I think he was drafted in the 11th round back when they had 12 rounds, and I am not a football person, so this was I'm like, wow, that sounds terrifying and scary. I'm sure it was, because he'd just given up his whole future, right? He walked away from school. He didn't have that degree that he'd fought so hard to get, and then he didn't get drafted. He didn't get drafted. He didn't get drafted. And then he did. And these ups and downs are just kind of a running theme throughout the book. But throughout it all, he had his wife, Rebecca, backing him up and trying her best to keep him grounded. And they met when he was fairly young. I believe he said he was 19 and she was like 21 or 22. She already had a daughter who became Terry's daughter when they started dating and then married. Ultimately, reading through this book, you can see this is a love letter to his wife as much as it's a confessional for him. And interspersed throughout the story are just some amazing life lessons, not just about being a man, but just life in general. And lessons that I found myself kind of nodding my head to and agreeing with. Not explicitly stated, is the importance of finding a good partner to go through life with. Too many people rush into marriage, and Terry Crews certainly did, but he was blessedly lucky to find himself a good woman very early in life. One who took her vows seriously and stayed with him through all the growing pains it took him to make him the man he is today. I really liked this book. I flew through it. His writing style is very engaging. He's got a strong voice. It broke my heart reading about little Terry and his brother Marcial and listening to the horrifying domestic violence that was going on. And my heart soared when he described his first contract with the NFL. And then, the lows of being unemployed and realizing that he had to work a job that he was egotistical enough to believe that it was beneath him until he realized it wasn't. And that this is what he needed to do to become a man, was to support his family. And those kind of really painful growing pains. And then the highs as he, came into the sphere of Sylvester Stallone and Sylvester Stallone became a mentor to him during the filming of Expendables, and it broke again when he almost lost Rebecca for his porn addiction, and then I cheered him on while he's working his way through therapy and counseling. So he takes you along on that roller coaster ride. It was so good, and it hits on so many life lessons. I really recommend this book to anyone who's kind of struggling with growing up and accountability, because ultimately you do have to accept responsibility for your actions. And Terry does that in spades. Forged in fire, he fucking walked out the other side. And it was so well written. And that's it for this week. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button, share my videos, let me know what you think in the comments. And remember, they can only take away your ability to think for yourself if you let them. I am your Mistress of the Damned. Welcome to hell.